Hello everyone. As we wrap up Module 3 on witnessing and testimony, and as we have recently read a few lyric poems, I would like to discuss something that Paul Celan has written about language, and I would like to also invite you to think about a few things relating to the poem specifically of Dan Pagis and Paul Celan that we read in this module. Let me just begin with Celan here. He writes of language, quote, "Language remained not lost, yes, in spite of everything, but it had to pass through its own answerlessness, pass through a frightful muting, pass through the thousand darknesses of death-bringing speech. It passed through and gave back no words for that which happened, yet it passed through this happening, passed through and could come to light again, enriched by all of this," end quote. So here, particularly as we are reading these lyric poems, I would like you to reflect on the role of language, certain biographical points relating to the various poets make this a relevant question. For instance, with Pagis, we have him writing his poetry in Hebrew, while Celan chose to write in German. So I would like you to reflect on the role of language here in a larger sense. Not only which language people choose and the questions of translation, but also how language helps to sort of deal with traumatic events, but at the same time doesn't offer any sort of necessarily the closure that we might hope for. So we will discuss this as well as we continue. The role of working through these traumatic events in literature, in language, in poetry, and through other artistic means. More specifically, I would like you to consider three very basic questions relating to the poem by Dan Pagis and Celan. Who do you think is the narrator, as it were? Who is speaking? So a question of perspective here. The second question, who is the audience? Who is the intended addressee or addressees of these two poems? And finally, what do you see as the sort of the meaning and the message that's being conveyed in this poetry as they bear witness to the events that have unfolded in writing this poetry after the Holocaust, after Auschwitz, as it were. So just some thoughts to leave you with as we conclude Module 3 on witnessing and testimony. And again, we'll come back to these many of these questions again repeatedly as we work through other text. The next one being by Ruth Kluger. So, thank you very much. Look forward to hearing any comments you may have.